Hey, everybody, this is Skyh Alvester Black, and I am this week's Man of the Hour. Justin, JC to me, talked about life, learning, and full circle moments. So I hope you tune in.
My man, welcome to the Men of the Hour podcast. We're going to get into a lot of topics today, and I want to ask you before we even get started. Have you ever been called Sab? S-A-B? Is that a nickname of yours? Just a random question.
No, I haven't, but I actually went to a school that's called SAB, School of American Ballet in New York. So it's kind of funny. Yeah.
Right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I need to ask you about that too. Once we get more into this conversation, how
Yeah,
it
of
was
course,
going
man.
through ballet school. That's tough. My mom did it for a little while, but as we get things started, we're going to get into a lot of topics with you, Skyh. I think that not only am I very excited to have you on the show because you're working on a ton of different projects. You've been traveling. You have been on a lot of people's screens, whether it's on a laptop or a television screen. I'm sure you get stopped all the time now. I mean, you said you were in Atlanta, so I'm sure everybody's stopping you on the streets, but I'm more excited to get to know who you are, how you got to where you are today, and how a lot of what you had been through in your life added to the success of where you are now. And I think that's what a lot of people tuning in. And if you are listening right now, I want to thank you for choosing this podcast when you could have chose any other one. But we're going to start from the very beginning with my boy Sab. If I don't even know if that's his nickname now, but we're going to
go ahead. Well, you've made it. You coined it, Justin. There you go.
Sab, let's start from the beginning. Let's go, Sab. Justin and Sab. So I want to start from the beginning with you. And if you can just kind of walk us through, I mean, listen, you take as long as you need to with this one, but walk us through your upbringing and how it played into where you are right now. However you want to tell that story, I just want to start there.
Oh, wow. Cool. I was raised by my grandparents. I was raised in Miami, Florida, Dade County, Carroll City, 305. I was raised in Miami, Florida by my grandparents. And I would be extremely remiss if I did not say that is the foundation for my success. When I was a kid, I didn't have my biological parents, and I've been more open about this lately. It was in the past 48 hours, in all transparency, about how it felt to be a kid that was raised by his grandparents who thought that every other kid in my class had mommy and daddy, so that was an adjustment for me but now being older, I realized a lot of people had a lot of circumstances and a lot of worse circumstances. So no, I think my grandparents are the backbone of my success completely. And it was awesome because it afforded, at the time that I was born, they were stable enough to allow me to dream. And when I say allow me to dream, they allowed me to pursue my dreams. They never kind of they never shut me off, for lack of better words. I see a lot of kids today, and where their parents will be like, be quiet or sit down. My grandparents never did that. And I was a creative kid. I wasn't a bad kid at all, but I was a kid full of energy. I actually broke my leg when I was 2 years old in my grandmother's kitchen because I was watching a Michael Jackson video, and I remembered it was Billie Jean. And I was watching it on the TV, and the kitchen is adjacent to the living room, and I was trying to step on the tile, and hopefully it would light up. And I did a spin, and I broke my leg because my tennis shoe gripped the tile, and my leg went the other way. And I remember telling my grandmother, I was like, "Mom, I want to be on TV. I want to be a superstar like Michael Jackson." And so with that said, I think around 5 years old, I asked to be put in dance classes. And my grandparents are from Alabama. Actually, you don't know, but now you know. My grandparents are from Alabama. So for them to let their young African American son say, "Hey, I want to go to dance class," it was kind of like, okay, all right. But my grandmother had an affinity for tap. and she loved Gregory Hines and all that. So she allowed me to take tap lessons, but they also said that hey, he would learn quicker if he had ballet as well. And that's another like, wait a minute, because at the time, ballet has its own stereotype. And you have your little boy doing ballet, and of course, in a time frame where perception can be limited. But they went with it, and I got to applaud them for that. They really went with it, and I jumped into ballet class, and I hated it. I hated it. I think to me it was boring. In all honesty, I didn't know how paramount it was going to be for my success because of the discipline. My grandparents also, I was in the band. I played alto sax, and I remember telling my grandfather that I wanted to play in the band, and he said, "Hey, if you can," and they always instilled an extreme work ethic in me. He said, "If you can play Still of the Night by Kenny G, and if you stick with it long enough, I will buy you your own saxophone." So everything that I got, even though I got it, I had to work for it. There was no, oh, here you go. Even though they had, we were middle class. We were definitely middle class, and middle class, Black middle class. That's that's a different story. But they definitely afforded me the finer things in life that they could. And even I started in the church choir around 11, and they just went with everything that I wanted to do, and they were very supportive. They didn't ask questions. Even my grandmother, she would drive me to all these lessons after getting off of work, from dance class to band practice to choir rehearsal. My grandfather, he was a general contractor, and he was self-made. He was CEO of as a general contractor. He built schools and high rises. So he was working every day to facilitate my dreams. And so that's kind of how my early childhood went. I don't even think they knew what they were doing. They were really, and I haven't said this, they groomed me without knowing. They really, really did. And they're my world, And my grandfather passed in 2015, right before my career took off. But they were so instrumental in where I am today. I would not be here. I'm a firm believer in that.
I am too, and it was a lot of your choices that they were able to navigate with.
Yeah.
Be it, you say saxophone and ballet classes. There was a lot that you were already interested in. It reminds me, I chose to do cheerleading and band, and it was the same kind of thoughts that my parents would have. Where it was like, right, and that's maybe it's that creative in the young us, but to what you were saying, when you have a steady support system of people that you are living with and that really support that's very important. I want to go back really quickly. You said it wasn't until 48 hours ago that you had opened up about all of this, but everything you just gave us in the last 10 minutes seemed as if you had that seems so real and honest and true. But why was it only 48 hours ago that you had opened up about all this?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I wish I could tell you. I think I've been just trying to I was talking to my grandmother the other day, and I said, I'm trying to get a hold on my life. And she said, what do you mean by that? And I said, it's everything that I want and I've ever dreamed of is happening. But it feels so surreal. So when you're trying to because every day has been a learning experience, especially the past year. And I said, when you're trying to just get a hold in your life, you're talking about the things that are recent. My homelessness was recent. My the jobs that I've been blessed enough to book are recent. And when you start to really have reflective moments and slow down for a little bit, I've started to. I had an interview, and I just started remembering a lot of things, and I was kind of like, damn, I don't remember that. And it wasn't like this thing. I didn't have a manifesto like I'm gonna be more open. No, it was just organically, and I think I'm personally very comfortable in my own skin finally, which allows me to be more open.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I love that. I love everything about that, because I mean, if you're tuning in right now too, you can kind of think to yourself that everybody feels that way to a certain degree of
right.
you live your life. You could be 10 years old, you could be 25, you could be 98 right now. And we always think to ourselves, like, things get mundane, experiences repeat themselves, and you barely have time to reflect. It's why we
Yeah,
did this podcast.
right.
You're inching towards the latter half of 2021 for us,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
we're about to hit Christmas next, and then comes New
Right.
Year's, and you're like, oh my God, 2022 is here. And I always tell folks, I'm like, it is beautiful to be able to have these conversations where someone like you, who is at your peak of influence and celebrity with what you get to do, which is
Wow.
fantastic,
Thank you, man. Thank you
gets
so much.
to, of course,
Yeah.
you get to now share that with us. So moving on with you though, and your pure story, I love all of this, because now you've said a couple of what I was already going to bring up, which is this idea that every day could be a learning experience. And so as you continue your day to day, I mean, you're traveling, you're flying, you're acting, you're modeling, you're eating chicken and asparagus. I mean, when you finally give us a take real quick, Sab, if you are learning something
I
on the
love Sab.
daily.
I love
I
it.
do too. I really do love Sab for you. I thought about that when I was picking up my laundry downstairs earlier. I was like, well, like Sab, that could be kind of interesting. But I'm glad that one worked out, right? But
Yeah.
if you're learning something on the daily, someone as busy as yourself, I know that there's got to be a trick of the trade for you when you learn something. How do you take note? So say, for instance, you're fulfilling a busy, 18-hour workday, and you're like, oh my God, I just learned that. That was so fulfilling. Oh shit, I shouldn't have done that. Big learning lesson. What goes through your head through those moments?
I make them instant. Like if and I try not to beat myself up about it. I used to beat myself up about a lot of stuff, especially like you just touched on, damn, I shouldn't have done that. And like and I say, okay, I did that. Cool.
Mm,
Let me log it, feel the feeling, and not feel it again. If I didn't like the feeling, let me choose to not feel it again. So I log it at the moment with when it's something that I don't like that I necessarily may have done. The other, as far as reflection, and this is more recent, isolation has been very paramount for me. It has been very, very paramount for me, and I like you mentioned, I have been, by the grace of God, extremely busy, and I love it. I hate to rest. I don't know why I hate to rest, and I've never said this. I get a little bit depressed when I'm not working. I do. I get a little bit depressed after every single project that I finish. I have like a good 72. No, fuck it. I have a week period where I am just like I'm in this state of depression. I feel because I don't know how. I did not know how to be still, and I felt like I felt like I was always chasing the next. So the isolation periods I'm learning now to value, because I do get to think and I get to reflect and I get to have moments to where I'm not influenced by outside things going on. And that has been very, very, very therapeutic for me here lately. Yeah. So to answer your question, the isolation is what I feel that I need at this time in my life for reflection.
And then when it comes to reflection, everybody tuning in right now, I'm going to be very candid with you. And this is just because I love taping to live. This happens all the time. Sometimes the Zoom freezes. Sometimes my older brother calls. And Sab, if I consider you an older brother in the future, I'm just going to let you know I will put you on Do Not Disturb.
No problem.
During things like this.
I do it all the time.
It goes to the computer. And if you're listening right now, we were just disrupted a little bit. Yeah, right, yeah, right.
I didn't hear it, but I'm surprised I haven't gotten a call because it comes through the computer too.
It comes through the computer. more on isolation being a good and positive thing, because I think
Hmm.
you've hit on something very important here, which is this idea that we need to rest, but find ways to productively rest, which could be
Hmm.
reflection, it could be meditation, it could be yoga, it could be an abundance of things. But if you had to put
Hmm.
into a basket some of those positive isolation, or be to yourself moments of rest and stillness, what is that? If you can give us, like, whatever those are for you.
In busy days, I'll start that. I work out. I work out, and I will get on the treadmill. And that's a time where even when there's a million people in the room, I can just zone out. Especially when you try to do 40 minutes cardio. I can I can zone out. I hike a lot when I'm at home in LA. This particular right now, this time, I think these I hope everybody else I've done interviews with don't get mad at me, because I think I've been so insightful in my past couple of like sit downs, because right now I'm shooting season 2 of All the Queen's Men,
Hmm.
and we're in pre-production, and this is the first time that we're not shooting in the bubble. Like, there was a bubble that was created when the pandemic was really, 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 when everything was happening. It was very, very like high risk. And this time I'm in a huge house on the lot by myself, and it's so quiet.
Mm.
It's very quiet, and it's been very nice, because it's like, even though I'm working, I'm by myself a lot, and I get to, even for work purposes, I get to just find who this guy, well, who Amp is this season, and his circumstance, and I get to just think and talk out loud without fear of somebody hearing me, or just, I get to, if I'm upset, I'm upset. If
Hmm.
I'm vulnerable that day, I'm vulnerable. And so that has been kind of awesome,
Mm.
and I'm not a meditation guy. I try, bro, I try, but but I think what has worked for me is that I can go on walks and be, when I'm outside, there's just something that I feel good when I'm
Mm.
outside and it's nice, and I'm walking, and I'm hiking, or um, sometimes I'll just sit outside. In LA, I sit on my balcony,
Hmm.
and I'll just sit there for a minute, and and not think, but think,
Hmm.
you know. And I don't know if I should say this, but I live in LA, so I do indulge in herbal medicine,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, and that, for me, um, it helps me. It really does help me. I feel like sometimes it connects me to a higher, like, spiritual plane,
Hmm.
and I love it, and I love that, because it really, I feel centered. I feel okay. I feel, the industry at this point, I will be honest with you and said, I think I'm in a perpetual competition with myself,
Hmm.
which can get a little uh, unhealthy. It can get a little unhealthy, and because I had a fear of, oh shit, I don't want to go backwards, or I
Mm.
don't want to be broke again, or I don't want to be homeless again, or what if I don't get the next job, or da da da, or what's the next thing? What's the next thing? I can't be off too long, and you're like on this hamster wheel,
Mm.
and you feel displaced, and I never, I haven't felt settled this year, and this is the first time I'm actually saying this honestly. I have not. I've been grateful. I've been thankful. I've been having the time of my life, but I haven't felt settled, out of fear that it will stop.
Mm.
And I finally, I think, within as recent as Thanksgiving, accepted that, wow, this is my life.
Mm.
This is now my life for real, rather than, is it just for a season?
Hmm.
Is it just for a time? And the fear of, oh crap, will it stop? And, or will I go backwards? So I finally resonated, like, okay, wow, this is my life.
Mm,
And it's forward motion. And I don't yet know what it is to honestly fully live this life because I'm so used to the prior, but I'm learning. And it's been great to have moments to where I can be alone to get a grasp on this thing. That's been
mm.
so great.
I admire the shit out of you, and we've only been known each other for 26 minutes. Um,
Thank you, man.
because so much of what you are saying is coming from such a mature mindset that not many people are blessed, like you said, by the grace of God, to be able to endure throughout their career and throughout their lives. You could look back at everything that you'd been through, and I want to talk a little bit more about your experience with homelessness and how that ultimately being able to come out of that and still look at it as a learning experience is very difficult for a lot of people, aka they don't come out of it if you think about it.
Right.
And I think for you, it's like step by step, day by day, you continue to think that this is a learning experience. And you are one of many few people who I believe wholeheartedly that probably will die a very happy man because of that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course. I do want to ask you though, when you were pursuing acting away from the other creative talents that you had
Hmm.
been, working on for so long, how did you get to a point of homelessness?
Well, I was a backup dancer prior,
Mm-hmm.
and I always wanted more. And in all honesty, I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be a singer, and this is something I've also really never talked about aloud. Um, I it didn't happen, man. It didn't happen the way in which I wanted it to happen, and I felt like a fucking failure. It was not just homeless, it was depression,
Mm,
and I was like, wow, like I've worked so hard all my life and I've worked so hard to as a dancer and I've always wanted more. And I'm like, well, is this the cap on me? Like, um, I've never said this either. And actually, I've never talked about this in the interview. I did a reality show called Vivica's Black Magic.
mm-hmm. I remember.
It was probably the most um, gut wrenching experience of my life. I was super depressed. My dad had just died. I was actually homeless at the time. I had no knowledge of what reality TV was. I felt, I was a classicist. I came from the ballet world. I came from theater. I believed in hard work. I
Mm,
believed in, I didn't want to be famous for the hell of being famous. I wanted to be respected and to be, to, I wanted substance and I worked so hard on my talent. And I remember doing that and I was sleeping on couches
mm,
and I never let anybody know. And I remember coming back to a friend at that time's house, and something happened on the show, and I kind of block it out a lot. Um, and I said I quit. I said
mm,
I don't have anything already, so sue me.
mm,
I said this is not the way I want my career to go. Like I don't want this. And no slight to to anybody who chooses that path. It wasn't for me. And I um, I realized now it was vital for where I was going. God has a funny way of making us go through things to, set us up for things later. Um, but I remember at that time I was just like, I quit. I quit in the middle, and I'd had nothing, bro. I had
mm,
nothing, and I threw away. People were telling me and on my inside at the time that you're stupid for giving money up, and it was only $3,000 that I was missing out on. And but at that point, 3,000 to me was like 300,000. And I said it's not worth it.
mm,
It's not worth it, bro. And it wasn't worth my sanity, and it wasn't worth what I knew what was for. Somehow I always knew. And so after much, I thought I ruined my career. I'll be honest. I really thought I'd ruin my career. I thought everything that I had worked for was pushed down the toilet. The
Mm,
way that I was portrayed on TV, that was my first time getting like hate stuff. And a lot of that, I said a lot of that shit was not true.
mm,
But I didn't know the machine. I was a novice. I came from a world of you audition, you get it, you earn it, you go. And I just remembered like crying. And that was the second time I ever wanted to commit suicide. And I said, this can't be it. So from there, you know, at the time, trying to pursue music and it's just not working out. And now I've given up the only thing that I had that I was working, and I did come back and we settled and, I settled. I was always about my integrity. It did like the money didn't matter to me. It was, you're painting me like this. And I always saw the future. You're killing me. You're killing me right now. Or I felt at that point, I was like, you're
mm,
killing me. And so homelessness, putting all the money I had into music and studio time and trying to make this thing happen where I had no idea and sleeping in hotel rooms. I flew to there was one point I even was home. The first time I was homeless, I was in Philadelphia because I went to work with some music folks
mm,
and sleeping on studio floors and everything like that. And so, but and then I was always getting constantly sucked back into the dance world, and I just knew there was more. So, how do you say you go homeless? You go homeless because you have a burning fire inside you that says there is more out there, and this is not it. And I would rather sacrifice than to be unhappy.
mm,
And um, it was hard. It was. I'm not going to say it was easy, but I actually Debbie Allen I always say had told me years ago prior to that I'm gonna make you as an actor, and I always say I said no you're not. And she said that's not me, and she goes, honey, you don't know who you are. Um,
mm,
but I will have to shout out my music manager at the time. He said, hey, why don't you go take acting class
mhm,
again? And I said, I'm good, bro. I was like, no, I want this. I want this. And he's like, well, I could help your artistry. And he did pay for a couple months of my acting class. And it was therapy. It was therapy. And I've said in the interviews, it saved my life.
mhm,
It saved my life because I was on a dark. I had something to live for again, I felt. Once I really got into the craft of acting, that's the first time I've said that I had it gave me something to live for. It gave me a renewed passion because I was getting so jaded and I was the music thing was killing me, man. It was killing me. It was just like one the black magic thing, the music thing. Now I'm like, hey, what is this?
mm,
Like this feels different, or this feels cool, or I can hide my emotions in my work without the fear of being judged. But all the time I was getting evicted from an apartment while I was paying for acting class. I was trying to find another apartment before it went on my credit. Just trying to figure it out. And but that was how the homelessness period happened. And it was for like a good 5 years. It was like 5 to I almost want to say because it was almost 5 to 7 years of just continued poverty and losing my dad.
mm,
The guilt of like I can't take care of him. Like when I promised him, I was like, I'm gonna take care of you. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it. And it was it it took a toll on me, man. It almost took me out. I will honestly say. But I always knew that there was something more.
mm,
I always knew it. I guess I had a blind faith, you know. And the hardest thing I think I've had to realize is that if my dad didn't die, I wouldn't have grown all the way up. So
Mm,
that sucks because although I never told my parents what I was going, my grandparents what I was going through, I I knew, you know when you have a safety net. You know what I mean? You know if anything happens too detrimental, you can call mom or grandma or granddad. Well, grandma, granddad, mom and dad. It's my mom and dad.
yeah.
Um, and they were always there for me. But once my granddad died, it was like I can't worry my grandmother, bro. Like I wouldn't be a man in my eyes. And she only knew when it was just bad, bad, and I would
Mm,
cover it. Hey, I just need some to get, whatever, whatever. And she was always there. But when he passed, I was just like, yo, you don't have a safety net, bro.
mm,
You got to figure it out and do whatever you have to do that wasn't illegal and make it happen. And that acting class, it did. It saved me. It saved me. And it's so funny. I say to this day, you tell God what you want, but you have to be specific. And
mm.
I said I wanted to be a star. I never said music star. I said a star. And I didn't choose acting. Acting chose me. And it found me, and the art saved me. It saved me. And nobody knew. I'm always very good at smiling and
Mm.
and acting like nothing's wrong. And the art saved me. It really did.
The art saved you, my friend. And
Ah,
yeah, we're gonna roll into a commercial break. If you're tuning in right now, stay with us, and we'll be right back. All right, we're back, my friends. And Sab, for everything you've just said in the last half hour, I want to thank you for it, and I know you probably want to thank a lot of people for where you're at now. And something you've often said
yeah.
is people are your everything, people are my everything.
Mhm.
If you're listening now, people are probably your everything too. It's we don't operate without other humans, and
Mhm.
when those other humans give to you and they love you and they respect you and they support you, you do have everything. Like you had said, you
Yeah.
can't put a price on passion, you can't put a price on half of the things you've been through, and then you ultimately can't put a price on people. And so I wanted to talk about that with you now. Where have you found it most important that the people who play very important roles in your life, where is all that unfolded, and how were you able to get them to such a secure place to where they started really being the reason that you can be so set in where you are now?
I think I'm just a very sure and proved guy. You know, even with all the stuff on the inside, I think we all have an ego, you know, and I think my ego saves me. My ego saves me from not being a victim,
Mm,
um, or feeling like I'm a victim, because I keep a front face. I always do. I just I don't know why. I don't know how. I don't know where that came from. I just
mm,
I just keep one, and it makes and it's from my ego. My ego makes me say, you're no better than anybody else. So you have to earn it.
mm,
You have to earn it. I mean, in the same regard as leaving, a lucrative career. To me, it wasn't enough, and that's okay because that was for me. That was
mhm,
my choice. I'm not discounting anybody else's journey, but for me, it wasn't enough. And I think when you see someone, because I've seen it in some kids, and I've seen it in a lot of people, when you see someone doing everything to help themselves, it inclines
mm,
you to want to say, "Oh shit, but is there anything I can do?" You know, and like I mean, even getting a job, parking cars. I had never had a job in the arts before. I mean, without sorry, that's not right. I had never had a job outside of the arts,
mm,
and at one time, and at this particular time, I went and first I went and got I did a short film, and I just wanted to do the short film for IMDb credit. That's
Mm,
how bad I wanted it. I had been in class and I just wanted. I was like, I don't care, and I because I started to learn the business as
mm,
I'm very big on if you're gonna do something, do the hell out of it and
mm,
learn every single um, branch that goes into that tree of whatever that is.
mm,
And so I was learning the business. So I knew that I needed credits. I don't know how that I didn't know I didn't have an agent. I didn't have a manager. I knew closed mouths don't get fed. And I was finding a student film bet, let's do it. Do I get IMDb credit? I don't have to get paid for it. I had no money to get for gas even. But like there's a short film out there. It's called Beauty Mark. When I shot that, I had no money to get down there, really.
mm.
All I cared about, I knew I was gonna get credit. I knew it was gonna be look good and see me actually working, you know. And one of the girls at the time, my female lead with me, shout out Chelsea. She said, "Hey, I work at this place doing catering. If you ever want to do it," and I was like, "Hell yeah!" So
Mm.
how hard could it be, right? It is.
True.
Food service is very hard.
Oh yeah, it is.
So I was able to do that, but also get paid under the table. So the cash was great to have on hand. And then, I mean, it wasn't enough, but it was something. It was pocket change,
Oh
and
yeah.
to eat at least. And then I looked on Craigslist and I saw an ad and I remember just being like one day, I don't have any skills
Mm,
outside of dancing, acting, and singing. I've never had a job outside of entertainment. What am I going to do? I saw a Craigslist ad for valet guys.
mm,
So I was like, well, I know how to drive. So I went down to this huge like meeting where they bring everybody in the room and they assign me to a hotel and you take a personality test and I knew how to have I have personality. So, you
yeah.
know, and then I started parking cars. And I think God allowed me to have a short tenure because I had been at such rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Um, any entitlement or um, arrogance had left.
Mm,
It was all gone by that time. And I parked cars like I go on set with the utmost humility. And I did my job as if it was as if I was working at a Fortune 500 company.
yeah.
And there would be people that would come from my previous work history, being on tour all these years with all these big artists. I'm like, bro, you out here parking cars? I'm like, yeah, let me have your keys. Welcome to West Hollywood Edition.
Mm,
um, and you know what? I never felt, how some people feel kind of like, oh shit, this person, I never felt that like, I can't find the word. I was never ashamed.
mm-hmm.
I was never ashamed. I was like, hey, these are my circumstances,
Mm-hmm.
and I gotta earn it. So to round it out, I think when you're showing improving, people tend to see that,
Mm-hmm.
and more importantly, I know God sees that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, what are you gonna do? Because I'll get you there, but you gotta work for it, bro. And as depressed as I was, even during that time, I remember I was auditioning for a lot of stuff because I finally got a manager and finally
Mm-hmm.
got an agent, and I was getting so close, but I didn't have a name yet. So I was missing out on a lot of stuff, and I got some roles here and there, and I would get so close and so close and so close, and I remember calling my best friend one night on the way to work because I would work from 7 p.m. to 3 in the morning, so I could audition during the day. And I said, man, it was one particular huge show. I'm not going to call the show's name, but I went to test at the network and didn't get it. And I said, bro, I am so exhausted. I just
Mm,
want to drive off the cliff. Please. I just want to go to sleep. Like, God, take me. And he was like, you're almost there. I promise you, you're almost there. And so during the time, always say I auditioned for Tyler 6 times
Mm-hmm.
before I got Sisters. And and I later learned even more about the business. You can be extremely talented, but sometimes the look that you have may not fit the character. So
Yeah,
it's a disconnect for the audience.
sure, sure.
So when I did get Jacoby, I knew I was going to be prepared. Like I knew every line backwards and forwards. And when I came on set, and I always say my castmate, who I
Mm,
had most of my scenes with, Novi Brown, she plays Sabrina on the show. She was excellent, and she really prepared me for, hey, this is how it goes over here. This is how we do da 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 da. And she told me the ins and outs. And then my dance career, I realized my dance career. Oh, okay, this was vital because it I
mm,
needed it for here because I know how to perform on the drop of a dime because I performed in front of crowds of my whole life live, and live something always goes wrong. Be
if not everything.
yeah, prepare for the unexpected. So with that said, just a combination of life. I think um, Tyler was very, very gracious to even give me a compliment because so many actors, you know, to say, and it's when you see that person and they're like, yeah, they're showing improvement. There's
Mm,
something like there's something there, and again, my ego is so big that it will not allow me to fail at something. I refuse to fail. But I also, my ego is so big that my own ego out egos my ego. And what do I mean when I say that? I have an ego so big that I will not allow my ego to sabotage moments.
mm-hmm.
Like I will not allow an air of arrogance or allow an air of I come on, what can I learn today? And because I don't want to be one of those guys that excuse my language fucked it up
Mm-hmm.
because I know how it feels to be over here and I refuse to lose it. So showing improving means a lot to people because then you see that I just finished a movie and I saw this kid. Um, he was the only black kid on the crew in Tennessee. And I saw that kid and I just watched him and he came on later and he worked so hard.
Mm,
Like above and beyond, he worked so hard. And I was just like, who is this kid? And I speak to everyone. And I was just like,
mm-hmm.
oh, hey, buddy, how you doing, man? What's your name? And I saw this kid and I saw this kid and I saw this kid. And I was like, there's something special about that kid. And I happened to be walking from like through the, in between takes or whatever. And I heard he asked a question, and the question led to another question, and the question led to another question to the second AD. I was just kind of like, "Hey, can I ask you something?" And I asked him a series of questions. His car got broken into,
Mm,
and his phone and his computer had gotten stolen. And I thought about me. I saw me. I saw this kid like no ego, no nothing, no just work. He was there to work and absorb and learn and he was just so open and it was such a beautiful thing and to know that this happened, this car got broken into and all this stuff. I'd never say what I do for people, but I'll just say this. I felt a responsibility to make it right. And that's all
mm,
I'll say. Um,
mm,
um, I did my damnedest to overcorrect that circumstance because he deserved it from in
mm,
my eyes.
mm-hmm.
And again, I just think that when you show improve, man, people see it. You may not think people are watching, but they see it.
Oh yeah. Everything you were just saying is so full circle. And I think it happens for a lot of us, but you have to be cognizant and realize that you may one day work with your friend who offered you that catering job, right? Or you may have to call your best friend again and tell him all the great things after having called him one day thinking that you were going to, drive over the cliff and end
Right.
everything. And this young boy reminded you of yourself, and that's why you went out and did what you did for him. And I think that that's the beauty of people. And that's why I wanted to ask that question. I had a gut feeling you would be able to turn that into so much, which you did very gracefully. And we do not operate without other people in our circles or in our
No,
corner,
no,
you know? And so
I
much of
don't have
everything
that.
you've said today is very much woven in the people that you had to either get in touch with or that you knew were at the right place at the right time with you at that moment in your life. And that in and of itself is a lesson for all of us, I think, tuning in right now. You know,
Yeah,
we've
yeah,
we go
completely.
through we go through these days of trials and tribulations, and as exhausting as it might be, you're always going to have people there with you, but it takes you to then reach out or, to fall in moments of what you had said, like God-given moments where these things just happen to play out the way that they do.
Yeah, I mean, closed mouths don't get fed. I think a lot of times people, to expound on what you just said, like we're all connected,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the sooner we realize that, the better off we are. Um, and the saying "closed mouths don't get fed." It's not like, and people are like, well, I'm not going to ask. I'm not going to beg. No, you never know what that person is there for. I will
Mm-hmm.
ask anything that I need assistance with. That's one of the biggest. That's humility. I don't to say I don't know this or I need help.
Mm.
Can you help me? You're not being opportunistic. The worst they can say is no. If they say no, okay, cool. But you never know. It may have been an angel that was right there in order for you to go to the next level.
My man said it well. And as we wrap this conversation, man, I don't want to let this end, but I would be shooting both of us in the foot by thinking that we would go over an hour because it's the minute of the hour. No, I'm kidding. We've had some conversations that were 15 and some that were 2 hours, but I want to be very respectful of your time here. And as we wrap this conversation, I haven't done this with any other guest, but I just feel it's right to do it with you. And I was going to have a different talking point, and then now I just feel it's right to after everything you've said. I think that there might be a subject matter of yours that you have either felt passionate about recently or haven't yet spoken out about. And feel free if you want to, but I wanted to leave this latter part of the conversation to you and what might be on your mind, to kind of give us a better understanding as to what you feel is important to you.
Um, Thank you for that, Justin. I've recently been talking about it, and I would say just real recent, like outspoken about mental health. Um, it's paramount.
Hmm.
It's paramount, and a lot of times we don't allow ourselves to just be. It is okay, honestly, not to be okay. It is okay to say, "Damn it, I don't know how I feel today." And that is okay. I don't have to have it all together. And I've been teaching myself that because whenever I don't have a great day, I get mad at myself. I get mad at myself because I'm like, you don't deserve to not feel good. Like your circumstances have changed and you have to keep going forward. And what are you bitching and moaning about? Or and I'm not a complainer, but we don't feel good every day, bro. Like
Mm-hmm.
and it's okay. And it's okay. And I'm learning. I'm not a master yet. I'm not nowhere near master. Shit, that'll probably take me some years
Yeah, I was gonna
to
say.
to to um to get a hold of it. But give yourself some grace.
Mm,
If you're trying and you're doing your best, give yourself some grace. And it's also okay to not know.
mm,
It's okay to not know. I think that is the biggest thing that may cripple a lot of people is that we feel like we have to know, but sometimes we just don't know. And don't
mm-hmm.
know means like, I don't know how I feel today.
Right.
I don't know how I feel because we all have to get up. Like you had to come on here and you were amazing and full of energy when you came on. And
You too,
and then
man.
and then I came on full of energy. But guess what? You have like that is our job, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But after we do our job, sometimes we're depleted
Mm-hmm.
or we're doing our job to the best of our ability, but that may have not have been the best day for you, or it may not be the best month for you, but you're going on autopilot because you have to do what you have to do, right? It's just the way of life. However, once you turn the autopilot off or land the plane, acknowledge how you feel.
Mm.
And that acknowledgement, it actually it's a little therapeutic. It's like, okay, cool. I don't feel great today. I don't know what's wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
I I'm a little, I feel a little whatever. I feel a little weird. I feel a little this, but you know, self-care is paramount. And I'm learning that on this journey right now of this transition, because that is what it is. And there was just a light bulb that went off for me. This is a transition phase still, because we're
Yeah.
all in a transition phase to the next plateau. And this past year has been an extreme transition phase for me. And movement, forward movement is awesome and it feels great, but still forward movement is movement. So there's
Mm.
going to be times to where you're like, oh shit, this move, oh, I got to get used to it. I got to get used to
Mm-hmm.
it. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Be okay with getting used to your circumstances.
Mm. We couldn't have ended this any other way. It's almost like when you start talking, and this happens very often. I don't know how it happens. Could be God sent. We've had so many episodes where any conversation that you have that is pure and honest and just off the record of the mind, right, and where your heart is speaking to, does come full circle. And if you're listening, you probably heard it too. A lot of what he just said of what he's learned. If you think about this too, Skyh, how you literally have been through the lowest moments in your life and
Yeah, man.
still able to, and I said this earlier, how you can look at every single day as a learning experience. Also, I wanted to ask this, but I was like, I'm not interrupting him. Please keep talking. You just said, right, a couple minutes ago, and I'm
Mhm.
running through memory here, so if I don't verbatim it, don't judge me and don't rate the podcast.
Nah, no
I'm
judgment
kidding.
whatsoever,
No judge.
bro.
But I did want to say this because it was on my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, I know that anybody who's tuning in right now, even Joel, like I know you guys heard it when you gave the advice piece that it spoke to how you should just be open to learning. And that was probably because you were never going to know. And it's okay to not know. Those two things interconnect. But I'm sure when you told us earlier that you just keep taking each day for learning, you weren't really thinking that. And now that you had just mentioned that, it makes so much sense. But that to me is the life experience, right? It's the learning of life experience. To be honest, that's probably the name of your episode. Your life is what we can now learn from, right? In a graceful way, because you're still here, thank God. So anyway, I want to gracefully end this podcast. But as we do so, we need to know what projects are coming out. We need to know where we're going to find you next. And then I'm going to do some social plugging. And I want to thank everybody for even tuning in for this long. These podcasts are not going to be 10 hours. So you spent an hour with us. I gave you a break in the middle because it got a little emotional. But my friend, what can you tell us? I know you signed a lot of NDAs, but what can you tell us is coming up for you and what gets you excited about 2022?
2022, I will be doing my first movie as a leading man. So I'm very, very, very excited about that. I'm waiting for the announcement. I don't know what I can say and what I can't say, but I know the movie is called The Stranger. I think I probably even said more than I could say, but don't shoot me, production. um, um, Right now, I am in the middle of shooting All the Queen's Men season 2,
Mhm.
and that announcement I think will be coming out this week. So I hope so, because I just let the cat out of the bag, and the fans have been so amazing. All the Queen's Men fans, if there's anybody out there, man, y'all are amazing. I auditioned for All the Queen's Men prior to audition for Sisters. A lot of people don't know that. I didn't even think I got it. I was, you know, um, but I did. So God is good. I remember I cried when I got it. Called my
Mhm.
grandma first thing, and I was like, I got you now. And I am delving over into the producer space. It interests me. It interests me a lot. There's so many dope stories that I want to personally tell, that I want to, of course, star in. But there's a lot of dope stories out there. And one thing I there's always going to be someone that's going to be the decision maker, but
Mhm.
I do not want to continue to have too many other people able to control my destiny too much. I'll say that. So I want to give back, man. I want to be able to see that kid over there and say, take a chance, like Tyler did me.
Back to that full circle mindset, right? The moments in life are always going to be full circle because of people like you. You make me very honored to host this podcast and to share your story. You just said it. There's a lot of dope stories out there, and now I get to tell your dope story, which is super fantastic. My friends, if you tuned in, beginning, middle, end, I don't care. Thank you for being here. You could have chose, there's millions and millions of podcasts out there. And as we wrap up this year, I'm very, very honored that you were able to come on, Sab. Where can people find you on Instagram? That's like the biggest platform. I don't know if you have TikTok and YouTube and but where can we find you on Instagram?
I tried to get into TikTok, man. Just
I didn't either.
But at Skyh Black on Instagram, SKYH BLACK. And now Justin has made me have to go put Sab possibly in my bio.
I mean, maybe. Listen, no. You deserve to get paid to do something in your bio. Don't even put Sab. Sab can stay on this episode, and Sab can stay.
That's our thing.
Sab, yeah. And when I see you,
Sab and JC.
That's it.
Yeah, JC, right? There you go, JC.
Skyh, thank you so much. And your story is humbling. It is something I know a lot of people will learn from. And if it seemed like I didn't ask that many questions or talk so much, that's a good thing. You know, we're inching the end of this year, and it's all about learning, the best life lessons through stories like yours, Skyh. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for your energy, man. You're great. You're really, really awesome. Like, it was from jump. You was like, I was like, oh, let's go, JC.
Oh man, you're the best. Thank you so much again, dude.